bitches? Today I'll be giving my expert American opinion on the Vänsterpartiet. Varsågod. Now, I don't know what the word vänster means, but I do know that the Vänsterpartiet is the most left party in Swedish parliament. To the left, all the Swedish people voting to the left. We can have utopia in a minute if we all vote for Vänsterpartiet. Now, the Vänsterpartiet used to be a communist party until the 90s. So, as an American, I'm supposed to be against them because I've been brainwashed to think that communism is one step away from Nazism or North Korea. However, being that I'm punk as fuck and still young enough to have the youthful ignorance that Marxism can actually work, I automatically kind of like these guys. I mean, I know in a few years that's all going to change when I get a little bit older and naturally turn into a capitalist pig, but for now they're pretty cool. Now, despite my college liberal bias, I still do have problems with communism. For instance, I know that you can't really ball out like a rap star in those type of systems. You know, it's impossible to pop bottles and make it rain on a hoe without gross income inequality. So in that sense, I'm very against leftist policies. But the Vänsterpartiet sells these policies as saying they're just for equality of all forms and sticking up for the little guy, which I think is great. I mean, not that I'm small down there or anything, you know, I'm totally average, above average. I mean, I've never had a girlfriend complain or... They're also against the privatization of public programs and welfare systems, which I think is a really good cause to fight for. I mean, making money is great. I love to make that paper stack, but who really wants to get rich off of people dying of cancer and, you know, locking up people into prison? I mean, for God's sake, find something else. Start a rap career, you know, make an iPhone app, start doing online poker, you know, anything but trying to exploit the public. Vänsterpartiet is also against any sort of free trade deal between the EU and the US, which I think is smart. I mean, for anyone who's paid attention to things going on in the world, you know, if you sign a free trade deal with America, somebody's getting raped. Now, it might not be you, but someone out there is definitely taking it up the ass. Now, the Vänsterpartiet has been criticized for having too much love for Russia. And don't get me wrong, I don't really like Russia, but at the same time, I don't get why you guys are so obsessed with America but then afraid of the Russians. I mean, Putin is an asshole, but Obama isn't really much better. You know, one of them drops some slang from time to time, shoots a little hoop. The other one rides a horse shirtless and wrestles bears, but they're basically the same guy at the end of the day. Russia and America are basically like Coke and Pepsi. You know, one of them might be a little bit more hip and for the new generation, but overall, they're still just selling you the same poison. Vänsterpartiet is also big supporters of Hamas, which I think is great. You know, I love Hamas. It's a great snack. Tastes great, it's nutritional, it's really good with pita bread. You can basically dip anything in it. So, I don't really know why Vänsterpartiet is kind of making that part of their party, but, you know, Hamas, it's a good thing. One thing I respect about Vänsterpartiet is how they want to loosen the drug laws in Sweden and focus more on the drug traffickers rather than the personal users. They don't want to stop people on the streets and give them random urine tests. Which, by the way, if anyone ever does that to me, there was this time like a week ago where someone gave me a brownie and I felt a little bit funny after, so that's why, you know, something might come up. Sweden, let me drop some real talk on you. The only thing keeping you from becoming a utopia is your outdated views on drugs. Seriously, it's the one thing that you're actually behind America on. You should be ashamed of yourselves. We can get legal weed in half of America now, and you guys still think that it's crack. You guys are stuck in the 80s when it comes to weed. You need to hit that joint and relax a little bit. Vänsterpartiet are also big critics of the Swedish royal family and the monarchy, which I think is interesting because, you know, the Vänster gets criticized by the conservatives for just wanting to throw Sweden's money away at useless things. But then the conservatives have nothing to say about the king and queen with their big palaces and fancy clothes. You know, the royal family doesn't do shit for Sweden except just stand there and have weddings and pump out kids while we all just watch. They're basically like the Swedish Kardashians, except they don't even hook up with rappers or release sex tapes. They're boring and I'm sick of paying for all their expensive shit. It's time for them to get a real job. From what I can tell, Vänsterpartiet seems to stand for all of the things that make Sweden the great place that it is. You know, you guys have each other's backs. You know, you pay for each other's education, you pay for each other's health care, and at the end of the day, everyone prospers together. It reminds me of the stoner culture that I was a part of back in America. You know, when you're young, you don't have any money, you don't know where to find weed, then a good Samaritan drug dealer comes along and gives you a little bit of his weed to try. And you love it, and eventually you pay back into his system. Then you get some more weed and, you know, you give some to your friends to try, and they love it, and eventually they pay back into your system. Then we're all smoking together, just getting high. Sometimes you don't have weed, but I do, but it's cool. Sometimes I don't have weed, but you do, but it's cool. And soon enough, we're all at a party, throwing our weed together, rolling up a big blunt. Nobody's exchanging money or counting who owes what. All that matters is that we get high together. And this is exactly what I think the leftist social policies have done for Sweden to make it such an amazing place. You know, it doesn't matter whose is who or who owes what. All that matters is that we get high together and keep passing the blunt to the left. Pass the dochi to the left-hand side. Pass the dochi to the left-hand side. You know, maybe this is why the Vänsterpartiet wants to loosen Sweden's drug laws. Because maybe if you guys toked up every once in a while, you'd realize what the things are that have made Sweden such a great place. So overall, I love what the Vänsterpartiet stands for, and I would hate to see any other political party come in and fuck up the rotation. So if you're punk as fuck, and you're down with the sticky icky, Vänsterpartiet is a great party to give your vote. Thanks for watching my expert American opinion. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for more expert American opinions on the other Swedish political parties. And remember, svarta och vita tillsammans mot de rika. And fight the power.